Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this BAFTA Life and Pictures with Tim Burton. I'd first of all like to thank our sponsors Deutsche Bank for making the whole evening possible. They have a very active involvement in the arts, including other projects like the Frieze Art Fair, and also they support school children being able to have access to Shakespeare via the Globe Theatre, and they're very happy to add this BAFTA Life and Pictures strand to their other activities. Tim Burton, welcome to your Life in Pictures.
Am I dead?
No, but we're going to start conventionally enough where we tend to. In the beginning, you obviously started to watch films really early on. In movie theatres or on television?
Both. Back when I was growing up, there was, they still had drive-ins. There was like 3 drive-ins in Burbank, which was great. And there was a theater called the Cornell Theater, which was amazing because it was kind of a run-down theater, but they would show like triple features. You could see like 3 movies for 50 cents. So, and they were always a strange, like mixture of things. There'd be like a Vincent Price, Roger Corman movie, a Scream, Blackula Scream, and Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, and like Godzilla movies, Japanese science fiction movies. It was a strange, like they just mix up the weirdest kind of groupings of films. But that's probably the main theater I went to because it was cheap and it was 3 movies.
When did you start to make your first home movies?
Well, early on. I mean, like most kids, you're just kind of, it's like a science project. You're playing around, making little Super 8 films just for fun. And it wasn't until like I got later in school, I wasn't a very good student, so I would make these films, and like I remember I was supposed to read a book on Houdini that was about that, and I was not a reader. Unfortunately, that was the one part of the growing up in this sort of television generation. I didn't read as much as I probably should have or would have liked to. Got most of it through films. So I did a little short film, me as Houdini escaping from a train track or a swimming pool, and had fun doing it and got an A, a great grade. So I found it was a great way of getting a good grade and having fun at the same time. So that kind of got me into it. Although I never really thought I would ever become doing that. I think I was interested in animation. I think that's where I put my focus early on.
Something that had been sort of a personal enthusiasm of yours?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up as a kid watching the TV show, but the thing that excited me was the opportunity to try to do something which, more of a darker comic, which most comics were always perceived as light, kind of things, and so I felt that was an interesting new challenge that, it was, and I mean, the studio was for it. I think they were for that approach. They were still nervous because I think they always felt with me, it's like, too dark, it's too dark, it's too dark, and now it looks like an Ice Capades show, compared to the way things have gone, So I mean, but at the time, it was perceived as a little.
But you set Batman off on that trajectory.
Well, but also people got worried too because they thought with Michael Keaton, it's like, oh, he's going to make it. It's like going to be like a joke. It's going to be like like the comic. It's going to be like the TV show because he's a comedian and stuff. And this, I picked him because I just felt, I was looking at a lot of like real tough-looking guy, kind of traditional action star kind of people, and it just felt like, well, you look at him, and he kind of needs to dress up like a bat because doesn't look like, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, a big tough guy, and he's got kind of crazy eyes. And I knew, even though there was a lot of criticism before it came out that we're going to make a joke of it, I mean, sort of knew that that wasn't the goal.
And they were immediately keen for you to do the next one as well.
Yeah, yeah. After the second one, they weren't so keen on me doing it.
And Sleepy Hollow is a lovely kind of blend of a classic American story, the Headless Horseman story, but also a real Hammer horror mood.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. In America, I mean, in this country and other countries, there's a rich history of those kind of stories. And America, there's not many. You know, that was one that I recall, and but it also just felt very close to me. The idea of kind of the Hammer kind of atmosphere, and you know, it was fun. You know, we did a lot of, you know, probably the most extreme, like forced perspective stuff. I mean, there was not a lot of digital effects or anything. We, you know, did a lot of it in the you know, pretty small stages at Leavesden, so forest and, you know, full gallop horse riding on a sound stage and things. So it, you know, a lot of forced perspective things, and so it was a real, you know, from that side of it was a lot of fun to do, and you know, just being in that environment, kind of the Hammer-esque environment for me was, you know, kind of a dream for me.
Do you get that feeling with films that you think, oh, I haven't done this kind of, I mean, are there ever elements, or do you think, did you like to do
no,
what
well,
you know?
people keep, you know, I guess people think I kind of do the same, but it's like my drawing, it's like, it's hard for me to change, like if somebody said, change your drawing style, it would be hard for me. I don't really think about a style or anything. So I just always kind of do things that intrigue me, and, you know, like I grew up on horror movies or monster movies, but I've never really made a scary movie, you know. But I actually wasn't scared by any of those movies, so it probably makes sense why. But
there were scary moments, certainly scary moments in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, not for me.
Well, you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, man. No, but I mean, my parents said I used to, when I was like 3 years old, I would watch these movies and never be scared at all. I mean,
So you never had nightmares or didn't do any
well,
of that?
no, but normal, you know, like real life stuff, you know,
Yeah.
like going to school or
Sure. Yeah.
having dinner with my parents or going to a relative's house, you know, the real nightmares.
And there is, of course, an element of music in a lot of your films, and quite often musical numbers.
Obviously, Nightmare had a lot of music, and some music in Charlie, and then, you know, I'd always, Sweeney Todd was probably my favorite musical, so that was a real joy to do. I love doing that. And so, yeah, I mean, it is important.
But of course, in doing Sweeney Todd, you're taking not just a musical, you're taking what many people consider to be an opera. You know, been on in the Royal Opera House here.
Yeah, that didn't go, they should have seen that meeting. Do a musical with lots of blood with nobody that's ever sang before, doing Stephen Sondheim. Yeah.
But presumably, before you
Yeah,
start any of that, Stephen Sondheim is on board, so that's
Yeah,
helps.
no, I mean, he was great. I honestly, because, you know, he just let us do it, and you know, it was a big thing for us. I think it's, for him, it's a really important musical for him, and he was really cool about, you know, letting people that hadn't sang before do probably one of the hardest musicals to do. And so, you know, he just gave us support. I mean, I did admit, while he was watching the movie for the first time, I definitely went down to the pub with my music editor before, because I couldn't, you know, but when he saw, you know, he was really great about it, which obviously meant a whole lot, because, you know, I don't think I'd ever been so scared showing somebody a movie as showing him.
How do you know when you've got an idea that feels to you that absolutely will be a runner as a film?
I don't really know. I mean, honestly, I feel like from the beginning, every movie I've ever worked on could go either way. I'm surprised if it's a failure. I'm surprised if it's a success. I feel like, you know, I think that when I get into trouble sometimes, and it's happened on a fair amount of movies, is where sometimes the studio will want to do a movie and I'm excited about it, and there's, you know, you have a momentum going, and sometimes you get involved and get before the script's quite ready or quite there, and it kind of becomes like a moving train. And so that's happened a few times, and I try to not fall into that again, because, you know, oftentimes, you know, people can be working on a project for 10 years, and all of a sudden the timing, okay, now is the time. And so it's a lot of it has to do with timing and making sure that
great deal of them. So there, but every film I've done, I've wanted to do kind of, there's been something in it that's intrigued me, or, you know, that's made me want to do it.
And Tim Burton, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.